Please welcome Matthew Rodriguez.
I am wearing heels for the first time.
Yes,
Long
lady.
time for all of you. Guys, how amazing was that? Isn't that incredible? We need that, so I'm gonna sit down real quick. I don't know how you do this.
I've been doing this
Are
for
you
many
gonna-
years.
Are you bringing everybody else up?
Yeah, I thought we would do it together. Do you want to do it?
Do that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give a big round of applause for the star of the film, Max Harwood!
Hello. Thank you so much.
Thanks for dressing up.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, let's please welcome to our front here, our panel, our film director and our stage director, Jonathan Butterell.
Excellent. So how many people had seen the musical before, the stage version? Anyone here? Okay, awesome. So a lot of you knew about the film to begin with. So, or about the story. So welcome. We're so happy to have you here in Chicago.
Thanks for having
Great
us.
to be here.
Yes, last night, tell us about it. You were at Sidetrack.
Overwhelming. Lots of people.
Overwhelming, was it?
Yeah.
You know you arrived when you're on Saturday there on a Monday night for Musical Mondays.
Yes. Did you stay and partake? You came and introduced the new trailer.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. Did you stay and have a drink or anything?
We stayed a little while.
Okay.
We were a little.
I'm stuffed. I'm really
Well,
stuffed.
that's the thing. They just got in from London.
Jet lag.
And then they hit the ground running. So, how are you feeling right now, just releasing this film for the first time here in the States? Like, that's going to be pretty impressive. And that, you look good, girl. Look good.
That is a big place.
It's a beautiful face, isn't it? Yeah.
Stop flirting with me.
Sorry. He caught me. So how are you feeling right now, finally releasing this film into the world?
I mean, beyond excited.
Yeah.
And actually, it feels like. We've waited a long time to release this film, but actually, it feels like the right time to release it. It's a time for joy. It's a time for people being able to say, "I'm ready to be myself." You know, it's time, and that's what I think the message of the film is as well.
And I was saying isn't it fun how wonderful the musical numbers are? They're just big and flashy, and it's just the musical that we needed right now. And I couldn't agree more. We've all been locked in these little Zoom boxes. And to now, and this is your first time like out in public with it, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
So Max, talk about the audition process and how this film and this role came into your life.
I was in school in London for musical theatre, and I was in my second year of college. You do 3 years, usually typically in college for musical theatre in London. I don't know what it's like over here. But I didn't have an agent. Basically my friend Lydia forced me to submit a tape. Forced means encouraged. There wasn't any ransom involved or anything like that. But no, so I sent a tape basically just chatting a load of what I thought was rubbish, but Jonathan thought was magical. And then he let me come and audition for him. And then after about 100 hoops of singing, dancing, acting, heels.
Heels. Now, had you worked in heels before?
No.
What was your training in the high heel?
No training, none at all, 0. So that was, my ankles were weak.
How do you strengthen your ankles? How does one do that? Are there little workouts that you can do?
Yeah, flex and point, all sorts. No, but I had an amazing coach, so once I got the job, I worked with an amazing heels coach, Sean Niles, who's like been a dancer for like Kylie Minogue for years.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was iconic.
And Jonathan, so this story's been in your life a long time, and I'd love for you to fill everybody in as to the story of Jamie Campbell and the documentary, and then it turned into a film, because I think a lot of people don't know all that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, I used to live in New York. I worked in New York for about 11 years, and I returned home to Britain, and I was literally watching TV, and a documentary came on TV called Jamie, Drag Queen at 16. And I just was captivated by this story. The opening shot is basically this 16-year-old boy in his school uniform getting off a bus in a working class community up in the north of England and announcing that he wants to be a drag queen.
Yeah.
And for me, I just found that extraordinary. And then to watch that story develop and see the love and support of his mom, I just thought, I want to tell this story.
It was 2009? When did it come out?
2009.
2009.
Exactly.
And you can watch it for free. I watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
You just Google Jamie Drag
Jamie
Queen
Drag Queen at
16.
16,
Yeah, and you can find it. So if you have any interest in knowing more about him. Okay, and then, sorry to interrupt. but-
So Jamie wanted to come. So what I found out afterwards is actually it wasn't some researchers who came out looking for Jamie and found a story. Jamie actually, because he was a bit scared to come out, and particularly in his particular community, he wrote to documentary makers saying, "Will you follow me? I feel a bit scared, but I actually feel more comfortable if a camera crew followed me."
It's incredible, his confidence, isn't it? And it comes through on the screen.
It's confidence.
Maybe-
There's a certain kind of confidence, but really it's courage.
Yeah.
Because actually, if you dig deep, there's not a confident young man in there as well. It's the courage to kind of step through that fear and go, I need to do this. I need to take my place in the world, And so I was just inspired by this, and I went and spoke. I come from this place that we shot in Sheffield is my hometown, and I'm a working class boy who grew up on the projects there, and I knew, and obviously from a different generation to Max. Back in the day.
The young Jonathan.
Yeah, I wish.
Sounds like going to be in the sequel.
Yeah, the flash forward. Guess who's playing it? And so I wanted to kind of, we were inspired by that story, and a writer, Dan Gillespie Sells, who composed the songs, and a writer called Tom McRae, the three of us got together to create what we created was Jamie New, So although we're inspired by Jamie Campbell, we wanted to kind of be inspired by a story, but then create our own story, because Jamie Campbell didn't have a friend called Pretty Pasha, for instance, So all those are inventions of ours. And then we placed him right in the heart of community town Yorewell in Sheffield.
Love it. So when you started out to start the filming and you were getting everybody together, what was the process of changing it from the stage to the movie? Like that's got to be, and it's rare that the director of the stage version gets to go and then film the movie version, right?
It's rare, and I've never directed a film before. This is my first one.
Yes, and this is your first major film as well, right?
Yeah.
Woo!
I mean, come on, to come up with that. Was you just bursting at the seams to get this out of you? Were you thinking about it for a long time?
I mean, so the story's really odd. Personally, the story's really odd for me because I was born in this city and I was born on the projects, and this particular project was called Park Hill Flats, and the producers of the film actually had an office in present day in Park Hill Flats in Sheffield, and they came to the show and invited me in to kind of say, we want to make this into a movie. And I was literally under the flat that I was born in was above me. So I was making a kind of full circle from leaving Sheffield, going to London, living and working in New York, coming back to Sheffield, and then this happening. It was a crazy experience. And I thought that when I met these people, they would say, we want to make it into a movie, but of course we've got, blah, blah, blah to direct it. But they never said it, they just said, we want you to do it. I think because I knew the world, I knew the story so well, that they just, as I made this movie, I felt like I got 1,000 hands on my back being supportive, and it was a story I just needed to tell, and I think everybody felt that, so here we are in Chicago.
Premiere. Thank God you're here. Max, did you get to meet Jamie Campbell?
Yeah, I got to. Someone's got a phone near a microphone.
Is that me?
No, I don't know.
It might be you.
Who knows?
It doesn't matter.
Eek. No, yeah, I was rehearsing, so I went up to Sheffield for 3 weeks because I'm not from there. I'm like 3 hours away from there. So I went up to rehearse to do some dance and meet some of the Year 11 cast, because we all had like a boot camp workshop to do all of the the choreography and to get to know each other and stuff like that. And Mark Herbert, our executive producer, he was like, Jamie Campbell's in town, so you're gonna go meet him.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Were you
as
nervous?
as if I'm not feeling like I'm gonna poop myself already.
Yeah.
No, so I went and I met Jamie, and I think it was probably as much of an odd experience for him as it was for me, in the sense that, you know, I think whenever you make anything and you're using inspiration for it, whether that's music or film or TV, you want to like truly respect what you're taking from. So I wanted to completely honor him and his essence and his energy, and it was really super important that he liked me. Because if he didn't, then that would have made my job hard, because I really wanted to get to know him and ask him loads of questions, and he was so open, and he's a really huge part of what we call the Jamie family, which extends to, you know, our casts now across the world, and our in the musical, and the film cast. So yeah, he was on the set as well, so that was also really nice, and we got to know each other and hang out, which was cool.
Was he involved in the creation of the movie and the stage play?
He wasn't actually. When I first.
Is Jamie getting paid? That's what I'm getting at.
Jamie's getting.
Oh yeah. Jamie getting a check out of this because it's a good story.
When we first decided to do it, we obviously got permission and rights to do it, but I didn't talk to Jamie or Margaret for 2 years, because we really wanted to be inspired by it, and then be able to create our own world. And also we created Jamie New as opposed to Jamie Campbell, because we also thought that for him it could be exposing, and I want to say, look, this is inspired by my story, but it's not my story, and he could hold himself at distance from it, and then not feel that we were intruding on his own private life. Quite the opposite happened. He actually totally said, "This, I want to be right at the center of this storytelling." And I remember when Margaret first saw it ever, which was, and she had no idea what she was coming to see. She sat behind me, and I watched two people hold each other and sob for a long time. But the first words out of her mouth was, "How did you know? How did you know?" And I said, "Well, we didn't, because we were just inspired by her story." But I think what they've gone through feels oddly so universal to me. You know, although this is set in a northern town in Sheffield, I would hope it would resonate to anybody anywhere in the world. You know, Jamie, for me, represents all of us in many ways. We all have our own versions of a dress. You know, it doesn't matter, we're gay, straight, black, white, whatever spectrum we're on of our own sexuality. It tells our story in some ways. It's just about being safe to take your place in the world. You know,
I love that. Do we know if Jamie has a relationship with his father now?
he doesn't.
I was wondering that now.
In a very sad way, he doesn't. You know, and it was a discussion we had when we were doing the storytelling, whether we found some closure with Jamie and his dad. And there was pressure on me to kind of, particularly from execs, to say, actually, should we round that off? Should there be closure? Should there be redemption for Jamie's dad? And I really fought against it, because, you know, one, that's not what happened, and two, closure is not something I believe we arrive at. You know, we arrive at acceptance, you know, and being able to move through something and accept we've been through that experience, but we'll always carry it, you know. And I just want to make sure that resilience and what Jamie finds, being able to move forwards despite that, is really important, you know. So, very sadly, he's still not in contact with his dad.
Yeah. I loved that it wasn't, you have this subtext of Dean and his story as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of the bully, but you also, at the end, you feel for him. It's like everybody has their own shit, right? And you wanted, you know, Jamie's character wanted to wear, you know, a dress, and this guy probably just wanted some love from his dad.
Exactly.
And there's these two parallels, and they're kind of at odds, but it's the same damn story at the end of the day, isn't it?
You know, you called him the word that many people call him, which is a bully, and I never wanted to label him as a bully. Because I've known bullies in my life, and he's not a great one.
Yeah. He's like kissing. I'm like, is there a little something going on?
No,
not that.
I mean, I just think Dean's a dick.
Yeah.
You know, basically,
A little
Dean's
one,
just a dick.
right? A
He's
little
just
one.
a dick. Exactly. And we all know that.
Yeah.
You know.
We do.
You know, and when Pretty takes him down and says, you know, in five hours' time, you're going to be nobody. And he knows that.
Yeah.
And he's created that oddly for himself as well. And that's his survival thing, you know, Dean. And Sam's such a beautiful actor. He's managed to kind of hold that duality of being, you know, someone who needs to feel big by putting somebody else down, but actually he's this small himself.
Max, favorite scene, least favorite scene to film?
Favorite scenes were the scene with me and Richard in the shop towards the end of the film. I shot that on my second day of ever filming anything in my entire life, and it was incredibly daunting, not only to be working with an Oscar-nominated actor, but also to have to go there emotionally when I hadn't filmed any of the other stuff, because everything's shot out of order. And Richard really held the space for me, and was really generous behind the camera when he wasn't being filmed, and it was a complete lesson in generosity. And I will carry that day with me for the rest of my existence on this planet. My least favourite scene to film, it's my microphone. Hello, yeah. I think it's probably maybe with the jewellery, I don't know. But no, it's something, maybe this is the static from this shirt. It's not cheap, I promise. No, least favourite, I don't know.
That movie money now.
Stop that. No, least favourite, I suppose least favourite is not the word I'd use, but the most difficult to shoot for me was probably the work of art sequence where it flips between the black and white. The choreography, you've all seen the film, so I can say. We had to shoot that twice on 2 different sets with 2 different completely sets of costumes. So it wasn't filmed once and then magically made black and white. We filmed it twice on 2 different days, and we had to train the choreography. I mean, the dancers do a lot more than me, admittedly, but it was still a lot of pressure to get that right. And when you're filming a film, and there's so much in a day, there's so much to do. We don't have time to get it wrong, so that was quite a difficult day, but fun. It looks great, hopefully.
It all worked out,
Yeah, it
girl.
worked out.
It looked good, right? Now I'm wondering if anyone else here. I don't want to hog all the time. Does anyone else here have questions they'd like to ask the cast? Yes, in the back. Your hand went right up.
Oh, we don't need me. That's
One thing less I got to do. Scream at us, baby. You got to charge extra for that one.
This is a question for Jonathan. I thought it was really beautiful in the movie how you incorporated the history of the gay rights struggle and the AIDS crisis into the picture for those who did, because it's not in the stage version. And I was just wondering what led to that decision.
One, I lived through that time, you know. Sorry. For me, that moment is about how one generation talks to another and passes on stories. And as I said, that was my story. You know, I'm from that generation. I went on those marches, those Section 28 marches, in which, you know, the government at that time banned the promotion of homosexuality. So people were literally sidelined and pushed out. I went on the streets and fought those battles, and I lost friends. And so I wanted to make sure that our generation's story was told as well within that. And I think the passing on of that story is really important, because what Jamie learns from that, he very innocently says on that swing, people died. They really died, and I think as we move on and as we progress, we must keep telling those stories, and we must keep passing on those stories, because in not all communities have things move forward so much as well. So even young people are still having to fight those battles and make those stances, and so it's part of inspiration. And also, I remember very clearly, the decision to put Diana there, because back in the day she was a radical. She really stood and she sat and held those hands when people didn't, and I just want to acknowledge that part of the story.
Does it amaze you to think about how much the world has changed, even from the first time the documentary aired to now? Like, even in this short period of time, there's been a lot more acceptance with drag. I'm speaking about drag specifically.
I mean, it's massively changed. I think the conversation has changed massively because young people are changing the conversation constantly, and it's brilliant how they are pushing it, you know, and celebrating their difference, you know, and supporting each other and aligning themselves to support each other, you know, and that's really has the conversation in that sense has been moved forwards. But young people still have the same struggles as well, you know. And for me, although this is about a young queer kid, you know, in Sheffield, it's really about it's about everybody having to take their place in the world and the community around them, creating a safe space in which you can do that, you know. And I hope, if anything, that's what I want people to take from it. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are, find your space to be yourself, your true self, and then the community around you hold you and support you in that.
Anybody else? Hi, you can use the mic.
Hi, thank you. I wanted to ask, did you actually sing the songs while you were filming? And
Yeah.
you did? Wow, that's hard work.
Yeah, it's hard work. So the way that I think it works on a lot of movie musicals now is that you go in the studio like a couple of months before and you record guide tracks. So that's like basically a comp vocal of maybe what Jonathan and the producers think how much time they're going to use for that particular moment in the film, and that changes when you get on set. So you have to sing because beat by beat and moment by moment things change and things have to be cut. And also, especially for this film, you've got two very distinct switches within the music where, you know, you go from having a full production number where Jamie's on the catwalk and, you know, it's lots of reverb, vocal production, lots of stuff going on, and then you switch to later on in the film where you have just the intimate scenes in the kitchen. So those moments, if I'm right, Jonathan, are more live vocal when the moment is more intimate to marry the vocal into the real world, and more pop vocal when that's required. So that's why you have to do both. I had an amazing vocal coach, Anne-Marie Speed, who looked after me and the rest of the cast to make sure we were keeping up with the vocal stuff, because we shot for 12-hour days, so it was a lot on the voice.
Did you ever lose your voice? Because gosh, like never, like not doing this and then jumping in that full
I didn't lose my voice, but one day I did have a cold, so something did have to shift in the schedule, so we had to move something. But that's life, isn't it?
Diva already.
Yeah. You know.
Anybody else?
We have one right over here.
Yes. This one?
Hi, thank you. With theater coming back, this is for Jonathan. With theater coming back, do you think that this show will come to the U.S., like to Broadway, anytime soon? And Max, would you ever consider taking the role either on the West End or
Well, I've not
Broadway?
been asked, so if you want to see it, ask him.
You could do a Chicago debut.
Who knows?
How about that?
We're coming to LA in February. We're going to the Almonson Theatre in February, and then who knows? Who knows? I mean, there's a big queue of shows waiting to go onto the big old Broadway at the moment, but who knows? Watch his space.
He knows more than he's letting on, I can tell, and I don't know anything. I don't know anything either, but I know him.
Make sure you get paid, Max. Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a quick question. Before COVID, the show of course opened in London. Was it planning to go to Broadway?
There's been no specific plan to go to Broadway. Obviously, there's always conversations happening, you know, all the time, but no specific plan. As I say, the plan we have is to go to the Almonson, you know, but we're taking the British company there as well. So.
And I was curious if anybody from the London production did any of the roles in the movie.
So, John McCree, who created the role of Jamie on stage, plays the young loco in that flashback sequence.
Yeah.
So it really felt it was felt the right thing to do. He's certainly the right actor, you know. And there are, you know,
Some of the hookers, maybe?
sorry?
Maybe some of the hookers, some of the dancers?
There are a couple from the stage show who were there. Obviously, we really went for younger people. So I met 3,000 people for this film, you know. And some of the people, like the girl who plays Bex, she was in school, in the school that we actually filmed in Sheffield, that summer. And she just left school and returned to that school to do filming. So
She shot her prom and then she actually went to her prom.
at the same
Yeah, in the same year.
Getting paid to go back to your high school. How
And
amazing is that?
we had Bianca in the show in London as well, you know, for the brief moment that Bianca appeared.
Yes, so good. Anybody else? I saw one over here in the back, in the middle. Yes, you. Yeah.
How long did it take to film? Like, did COVID put a pause on it?
We shot pre-COVID. We did a 12-week shoot pre-COVID, and then we did some pickups, which is quite normal, and we had to wait for pickups. So we waited a year to do I mean, we should have been doing pickups like at the end of, just as COVID started, and then we were held for 9 months due to COVID. So we did pickups during COVID, which was rather interesting, wasn't it? I mean, we you know, of course there were all those protocols that were put in place, but we
I think me and you preferred shooting during COVID,
We
I have
liked
to
it.
say, because there was less people on set.
Yeah,
And it was like more controlled. But
Anybody else? Yes, in the front.
So the movie's based on becoming a drag queen, and when you went out there and did that on stage, what was that process like for you? You got to see yourself in as meeting.
it was very like scary stepping into that. I worked with like a lot of people to like create the persona, obviously like an amazing hair and makeup designer and a costume designer, so I cannot take full credit for that at all, because that is all them. But I did some really super extensive like dance training to make sure I could do that. But I suppose the moment I looked at, and we shot, if I'm right, we shot that sequence of Jamie getting into drag sequentially, because we had to do it for the makeup, because you don't get much time, like I said, so we had to shoot sequentially, which is we got into drag in the day, so I sort of went through the process of doing that. And I suppose when I looked in the mirror, I sort of saw this person there and was like, wow, I'm going to have to step up and step into it, because something like really sort of takes over you, which is terrifying. But I think Richard says it as well when we've spoken about this before, is that what spurred me on is more the reaction that you get from people around you, how they treat you differently when you're, you know, in all the stuff, as it were.
Would you perform drag at a bar? Like, do you feel comfortable that you could do that now? Quiz.
I would be red for filth and I would cry, so no. I'm so soft. But no, I think as well, like I truly learned through doing this job that like drag is really hard. I nearly swore. Drag is really hard. Like,
I swear.
It's really hard, and it takes a lot of artistry to, you know, curate looks, curate contacts to designers, and, you know, build an aesthetic and create a character. It's in many aspects more than just throwing on, you know, when I was a little kid, throwing on a packet wig and dancing around for my mum. But I think it's become that, and it can be so much. But maybe me in a bar doing drag, maybe give me a few more years.
Okay.
Just yet. I'm not closing that door just yet.
Do you have a drag name that you would use for yourself?
No, it's rubbish. It's really rubbish.
Go ahead,
It's
just
worse
say
than
it.
Jamie's. Me and my the makeup artist on the job, Niall, his drag name was Lydia Dustbin. And because me and Niall got so close during the thing, I was going to be Trisha Can. Oh, I got a laugh. It's really good. It doesn't go. Yeah, because we don't have trash cans in the UK, so maybe people
People
think
work
it's-
in the States.
Yeah,
I
maybe
think
it
you're onto
could.
something. And Jonathan, I wanted to ask you, did you ever try on the heels? Did you ever like?
I can work a peg.
Oh, okay. Do you want to borrow?
I can work a
Anybody else have any other questions? Yes, in the rainbow mats.
Do you have any particular favorite queens or inspirational drag queens?
Well, one of the drag. I do. You do. One of the drag queens that I first saw in a bar in London is here tonight.
Who is it?
Detox. It's away. So yeah.
Round of applause for Detox.
Sorry to
Yes, let's give it up for Detox, Yutka, and Dita Ritz from RuPaul's Drag Race.
Thanks for coming, guys. No, yeah, I mean, I've grown up on Drag Race, to be completely honest, and I love lots of the queens. I feel really bad to say any names, but lots of the queens. Say it. No, because you're gonna be like, she's wicked, like she's awful. You're gonna tell me later. Who do I love? It's judgment, isn't it? It's like
It's not judgment. After
um,
seeing this movie, there's no judgment.
recent queens who I stan. I'm a huge Jan stan. Sorry if you're not, but I am. I love a vocal, and she gives a vocal, so I'm here for it. Jonathan.
Just one. It's a few seasons back, but Sasha, I
Oh,
love.
yeah.
I just particularly, yes, she spoke to me.
Very sweet. One more question.
I should have picked like a fan favorite, shouldn't
I'm
I?
gonna go
I love the reaction to Sasha Maloney.
Yeah.
Valentina.
Way in the back.
There were some songs that weren't in the movie that were in the stage. They cut for time, or just you felt it didn't translate to this film?
So you're talking about If I Met Myself Again, the song that Margaret sang, and maybe the Ballad of Loco Chanel? So this was me replaced the Ballad of Loco Chanel. One, because the Ballad of Loco Chanel really is a theatrical concept. You wouldn't put that in the film, you know. And then it was very clear to me that that was a stage thing, and it felt necessary that this was me replaced it, because I actually felt the opportunity to deepen that story there. And with I Met Myself Again, I felt we'd already in that scene that Margaret has with Jamie's dad. I mean, Sarah Lancashire is such a beautiful actress. At that last moment where you just see that look on her face, she's told that story, you know, and you didn't want to extend that story any longer. That would be, for me, bad musical storytelling, because basically that would just be to extend a moment beyond what was necessary. She'd already told that bit of the story, so we didn't need it.
And you can't do that on stage, is what you're saying. Is that?
Well,
yeah.
And also on a stage, really, you know, it's 2-act structure. You can't really have a leading lady who doesn't sing in the first act. So, you know, therefore, it's completely necessary.
I think as we wrap up here, I'd love to know how Jamie and his story has changed each of your lives.
It was quite obvious. I'm literally from Basingstoke in the UK, which is a small town, and I'm now in Chicago.
Okay.
So that's huge. I also on a more deep level, if we're going to be deep, I didn't really fully think that I stepped into my queerness until I'd gone through the process of doing this film. I was openly gay before I did the film, but I think that I definitely found more of my people through working on this film. So yeah, it's changed my life in that sense, because I feel like I've grown in such a massive way. Yeah.
I just go back to when I first saw it. It deeply, deeply, deeply spoke to me. You know, I'm a working, you know, I was that working class queer kid who wanted to find his place in the world. And I was lucky, you know, I was one of the lucky ones, because I had supported both mom and dad who were supportive, and I just wanted to tell a story in which I felt that actually at the center of it was love, you know, and that love allowed that young man to feel himself, to be confident, and to stand in front of us on that street. And this image was in the middle of a council estate in which is the projects in Sheffield. And if you were to take a taxi in Sheffield and say, I'm going to Parsons Cross, they'll take you, but they won't stop. There's a kind of attitude to what that community is, and I just wanted to kind of give pride, one, to that community as well, because
This is the closing scene, right?
This the title sequence, you know. I just want to give pride all along, because actually those people are judged in similar ways just for being working class, you know. So it's shifted me, because I go, my community has value, and it feels it has value in the world, and I feel like it fundamentally changed me. I just feel deepened by the whole experience.
Well, thank you so much. I know you said that your mission was to create joy with this film, and I think we all felt that tonight. Did we?
Yes.
Woo! Thank you, Max and Jonathan. Thank you so much. All right, thanks, Chicago. And give it up for Batty Davis. Whoa, 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 whoa. No, I know. We're not saying goodbye. I was just saying give it up for you.
Oh, hey, give it up for me, y'all.
Hey, isn't that okay?
You're looking gorgeous.
Thank you.
Oh, you want to? Okay. Good. Awkward for everybody watching. Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.